Colorado is officially a state, and
That's right.
officially this year in the centennial of our great nation, I was surprised to find out that this wasn't the first attempt at becoming a state. Was it really that hard for Colorado to become a state?
Well, it really was. We had so much division here, and the Republicans do carry the weight statewide. And like I said, Denver's a Democratic city, but we all finally learned how to work together this time to get a constitution that could pass. We had a lot of opposition outstate, but the populated cities, they carried the day. And now to see those two parties cooperate like that was a great thing. But I think now that that's over, and as Representative Patterson might find out, that division is going to be right back in place, and we're going to be as polarized as ever.
Mrs. Tabor, what do you think? Now that Colorado is officially a state, are we bound for unified times ahead?
Oh, I don't believe so. You men love to fight all the time. But let me also point out that we would have been a state a dozen years ago were it not for the Sand Creek Massacre. During the war, another northern state would have been welcome. But because of the incredible behavior of the former territorial governor, John Evans, they took it off the table. We were not even under consideration when we were geared up to become a state before.
Representative Patterson, what do you think of now the great state of Colorado finally achieving this status?
Well, I'm not sure about the Sand Creek events as Mrs. Tabor describes them. In fact, in my recent term in Congress, I talked about that and debunked the claims of people that Colorado wasn't just fighting for its own territorial integrity, among other things, in the wars with the Indians. But we certainly could have been a state at least a few years earlier, except for Jerome Chaffee, the Republican multimillionaire and great friend of President Grant, because he recognized that if we became a state in the early 1870s, the Senate seat he wanted would go to Henry Teller. And so he was the territorial delegate before me, so he actually delayed Colorado's statehood till things had changed enough so that he could get the Senate seat.
Well, now that makes sense. Well, I can't think of a person at the table whose lives changed more about becoming a state, going from a territorial governor to now officially the governor of the state of Colorado, Mrs. Rout. What is the biggest change in you and your husband's life?
Well, we've been working very hard on this. I perhaps more than anyone else in the state have a different perspective on it because I've seen how hard my John has worked for this. There have been many times over his career where President Grant, has asked him to do something that was challenging or hard or that no one else wanted to do, and he has always answered that call. He did so again in Colorado. He delivered the 39 people that we needed to be able to reform the Constitution, and he was able to move us into statehood. I'm quite proud of him.